Okay, so there you go. We have a word problem over here, right? It says, one week Carlos bought 2 packages of dog bones and 4 packages of cat treats. And obviously when you do this, you're going to have to like highlight. So tomorrow on the test, it might be a good idea for you to actually bring a highlighter, because on your test, it might be a good idea for you to highlight stuff. Now, this is not Google Documents, and so all of a sudden, I don't know how to highlight stuff. So I'm just going to underline. Okay, oh, actually I do. But anyway, there's 2 packages of dog bones and 4 packages of cat treats. Okay, so this stuff is kind of important. Okay, so no, that's not highlighting, but oh well. So I don't know if you can still see that. Let me try and change it again to maybe something like this. Okay, and then it was for $18.50, right? Okay. Because the finicky cats didn't like the cat treats, the next week, Carlos returned. This is a key word. He returned it. Okay? So he returned 3 unopened packages of cat treats. Because if you open it, then they're not going to take it back. Right? So I'm going to underline that. And then bought 2 more packages of dog bones. Okay, that is quite important, isn't it? I hope I'm using the right one. After being refunded for the cat treats, Carlos only had to pay $1. Okay, that's kind of important, isn't it? Because it has to do with money. Okay, now based on this information, figure out the price of each item, and then you have to explain your reasoning. Okay, so let's take a look over here. Shh. So it seems like a very simple question, but it isn't that simple. The first thing you have to do is you got to set up the equation. And on the final, a lot of the times, once you are done setting up the equation, that's all you have to do. There's nothing else you have to do. Okay? Okay, so now based on this information, figure out the price of each item. So you just have to come up with an equation which is also very simple. So it's 2 packages of dog bones. So you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that dog bones are what? D. And then I'm going to say there's cat treats. So I'm going to say that cat treats are C. And most of you in this class, like Jessica's, my 2 Jessicas, and my Ignacio, and my Ava, and my most of you in here, Andy, and all the people that I just returned the paper for, right? You guys already know how to do this, how to set it up, right? And so there you go. Let's look over here. It says 2 packages of dog bones, so that's going to be 2D, right? And then 4 packages of cat treats, and so that's going to be 4C. And when we bought all of them together, it ended up being $18.50. So I know that a lot of you already know how to set this up, but you never really thought about like why this is so. Okay? So what you're going to do is you got to try and figure out why we set it up this way. So let me ask you something. If you just buy 1 dog food, how much is it going to be? Just D, right? So because I don't know how much the dog food is. Let's say the dog food is only $2. Then it's going to be 2. If I only buy 1. But if I buy 2 bags of dog food, then it's going to be 2 times 2, which is going to be $4. That's why you got to multiply the cost by how many you buy. Same thing with the cats, okay? So you have to understand what you are doing, okay? Now, from here, what we're going to do is he found out that the cats didn't like the cat treats, right? And so sometimes that happens. If you have cat food and you gotta return it, right? But the stores usually don't take it if you open up the package, right? So it has to be unopened. So he returned 3 unopened packages of cat treats. So that's going to be 3 of them. But because he returned it, is it going to be a plus or a minus? It's gonna be a minus because they're going to refund him for that. Okay? But then he bought how many more dog bones?
2.
He bought 2 more. So that's going to be a positive 2D. I'm just making sure that the D's goes on top of each other and the C's go on top of each other. Okay? And so now that is equal to, after being refunded for the cat treats, Carlos only had to pay $1. So what am I supposed to put here? Only $1. Only $1, okay? So based on this information, figure out the price of each item and explain your reasoning. I want you to understand that this part is the most important part. You gotta explain your reasoning. What that means is you gotta explain what you wrote. On the final, there's like 3 questions where all you have to do is set up the equation and that's the correct answer. You don't even have to solve it. But of course, there's other questions where you have to solve this. So in Miss Choi's class and Miss Choi's test, I'm going to go ahead and combine everything together. Okay? So I'm going to wait a little bit so you can catch up with me because I know some of you are copying down the questions, but this is being recorded right now. I'm going to put it on the haiku page, okay? So now let's move on and start solving this problem, okay? So there you go. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the question. 2D plus 4C. I'm going to change the color of mine. 2D plus 4C equals 1850. Can you read it for me? Because I can't see. And then I remember returning 3. And then, was it 2D right here?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was equal to $1. Am I right? Okay, so now we have to solve this, and we all know how to do this because you guys are my smartest and my brightest. The first thing is we have to decide if we want to eliminate the C or the D. And I don't know if you do this, but if you do, make sure you have like a line on the right-hand side so you can write down the steps. So the first step is to eliminate. So when the question says, please explain your reasoning, it can mean many things, okay? It can mean, why did I put minus 3C? Because you are returning 3 bags of cat food. Why am I putting 2D here? Because then she bought 2 more. So why did I only put $1? Because I had to remember that she got some money refunded back to her. That's why I only put $1 here. And you might have to explain that. Or maybe you have to explain the steps, okay? Eliminate C or D. Okay, and how do we do that? We're looking for the same number, but opposite symbols, right? Hey, so I'm looking at 2D and 2D, they have the same exact number, but they're the same symbol, right? So one of them have to be a negative. Which one do you want it to be a negative, the top or the bottom? Ready? Go. Bottom? Okay, whatever you want to change into a negative, I am okay with it. But what I have to do is now multiply the whole thing at the bottom by -1. If you want to multiply everything on top by -1, that's fine with me too, okay? Whatever works for you, because in the end, you get to the same answer. Okay? So then we're going to keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy the top, okay? I'm just going to draw a line over here, and then over here I'm going to put 2D plus 4C, and that equals 1850. So I just copied the top equation, okay? Now for the bottom equation, I want to make sure that I multiply everything by -1. So 2D becomes negative 2D, and then negative 3C becomes a positive 3C. And then the $1 becomes a negative 1.00. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add top and bottom, and please be sure to write down the steps. Okay. Second step is to add top and bottom. Okay. So thank you so much for all of you who are paying attention. And if you are not, please rethink this. So when you add top and bottom, 2D minus 2D is 0. And I know this looks like a 0. Somebody's going to complain. Okay, so there you go. And then 4C plus 3C is 7C. 1850 take away $1 is $17.50. So then if we want to find out how much each cat food costs, we got to make sure that we divide both sides by 7. And when we do that, you'll find out that it's going to be $2.50 for each cat food. Okay? Oh, so I forgot to write down steps as I was doing this. So we have to add top and bottom. And once we did that, we were supposed to divide both sides by 7 to isolate the C. Isolating means leave by itself, right? And so now we have the cat food price, right? So then our next step will be what? Plug 250 into the C to find D, or the dog food, the cost of the dog food, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So then, whatever equation you pick, does not matter. But you know what I like? I really like the small numbers. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use that equation. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in. Okay? So instead of C, I'm going to plug in 250. So instead of C, I'm going to plug in 250. So let me just copy that equation. 2D minus 3 times. Okay? And then the C was $2.50. And that equals $1. And so now I have to switch screens, so make sure you remember the equation I put here. But you know what? I'm just going to copy the 2D, and then I'm going to go ahead and multiply the negative 3 and $2.50 together. If I multiply these two, what am I going to get? 250 times 3 is $5, $7.50, right? So it's going to be 2D minus 750. So it's 2D minus 750 and, oops, $7.50. And that was supposed to be $1. Remember that? Okay, so then now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add 750 to both sides because we're going to have to figure out how much the dog food costs, right? And so now 2D, because negative 750 plus 750 is 0, right? So and then when you add them, $1 plus 750 is $8.50. I just want to go back and make sure that I'm not making any silly mistakes, right? 2D minus 750 is equal to 1. Okay. So there you go. Now I have to divide both sides. I'm going to just rewrite it because sometimes people get confused. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 because I got to isolate the D. So then now the doggy food is how much? What's half of $8.50? Good job. It's $4.25. And in case you forgot to write down the steps, don't forget the line over here, right? So once you are done plugging stuff in, oh no, give me a minute, I got a phone ring. Okay, so let's go. We have to plug it in. And so our dog food is $4.25, but we have to make sure that, we have to write down our steps, right? So then, over here, well, once we plug it in, everything is self-explanatory, okay? So I guess I'm just going to say find the cost of dog food or the dog bone. Okay, so then your final answer. This was a word problem, wasn't it? So if it was a word problem, your answer should be in words too, okay? So there you go. Here's your answer, okay? The cat food cost, how much was it? It was $2.50, right? $2.50 each. And the dog bones, cost $4.25 each. And you are done. Now, as part of the test, it's really important that you write down all your math and then you write your answer in English and also you write down the steps. In addition to that, I want you to explain to me why you set up the equation the way you set it up, okay? For example, why did you say minus 3C? Because you had to return 3 bags of cat food, and this is very important stuff. Okay, so please make sure that you understand this. Now let's move on to the next test question. All right. So the next one is going to be obviously solving for an inequality. And what I'm going to do is obviously I'm going to go ahead and pick one of those questions that I gave you yesterday. Okay. So I'm going to pick this one. Hush, babies. And so there you go. The second question that I'm going to give you is an inequality, system of inequality, and you're going to graph. And some of you had this question, like 3 of you did, right? Shh. Okay, guys, let's focus. Okay. So then now over here, we're going to graph this. And the way we graph this is very simple. Yesterday, a lot of you were like, oh, yes, I get it now. And that really made Miss Choi very happy. Today, Miss Choi does not have graph paper, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this. Because what's going to happen with you tomorrow, I am going to provide graph paper just for number 2. Okay? So, but then right now I'm not giving you any, so let's go ahead and look at my first equation. I have plus 2, and that's my y-intercept, so I put my dot here. I'm going to go fast over here because most of you already know how to graph, right? And then my slope is negative 1 over 3. That means I go down by 1 and 1, 2, 3 to the right. And I put my point there. Now, because there's no equal sign, I have to use a dotted line, okay, to graph. Shh, hush babies. Okay. Now, I know that y is less than because the alligator is chomp chomp trying to eat the other side, right? So y is less than, and less than means bottom. And it's very easy for you to tell where the bottom part is, right? Okay. So then now let's take a look at the second equation. For the second equation, I'm going to go ahead and use a different color, red, right? Okay, so I'm going to start with the negative 9. Shh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here's my point, and then my slope is negative 4, which means I have to go down by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right by 1. I hope this shows up in the recording because I think the bottom part doesn't show. But let's see. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So this is a very steep one, right? Okay. And because of the equal sign, I use the solid line. And because alligator is chomp chomp trying to eat the y, that means y is greater than. So that means I have to shade the top. And we talked about this yesterday. I have a very, very steep slope, okay? So which part do you think is the top? Is it the right-hand side or the left-hand side? What is the top? Ready? Go. Good job. You guys are so excellent. It's going to be the right-hand side because today we have a negative slope. When we have a negative slope, okay, as you can see, okay, this, if you slant it down a little bit more, it's going to be obvious. But over here, right, the top is going to be the right-hand side. Please do not get confused over the shading stuff. Yesterday, I gave you a positive slope, and that's why our answer, our greater section was on the left-hand side, okay? It's a little bit different. So then, we are totally done, except you have to highlight one region for me, right? I want in this class everybody to get 100% on question number 2 because there's no reason why you wouldn't get it right, okay? So then what is your answer? The highlighted area would be where you got both the red and the blue, okay? So when you highlight your answer for me, you're going to highlight all of this, okay? You're going to highlight the whole thing for me, and that's going to be your answer. The thing that I love the most about graphing inequalities it looks like beautiful artwork, right? And that's what I like most about this. So, a graphing problem, okay? So please make sure that you understand how to do this one, okay? Now, here's time for the third question. And for the third question, I need some time to prep. Give me a second or a minute. Okay, so my third question is going to look something like this, okay? So I hope you can see what I just did. What I did was I went into my Desmos calculator and I went ahead and graphed the system of inequalities. And so these are my equations. So on the test, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste, right? I'm just going to do like a screenshot of maybe like this part right here. Okay? And then I'm going to give it to you on the test. And then I'm going to say, please come up with the equation, right? And guess what? You have to come up with this.
Do you still have my coil part?
I think you're wrong. Oh.
I still have it there.
Okay, so listen. All you're going to do is you look at this equation, and then your answer is going to be, the equation is, you have to look at the graph, and you have to give me the equation. Okay, so how would you figure it out? Well, first of all, you know that this is a dotted line. Go ahead and tackle one equation at a time, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to look for the y-intercept first. And so this is the y-intercept. I don't know if it's clear on for you or not. But here's 0, and then 1, 2, oh, This is 1 and this is a 2. You can see the 2, right? So in between 2 and 4 has to be a 3, right? So that's why you're going to put plus 3 at the end. Well, it's basically this equation right there, right? And then you have to find another point so you can figure out the slope, right? Shh. Hush, babies. Okay. So then the next point that you're going to find is going to be this one. So you know it's 1, 2, and to the right 5, 1. So you already know that your slope is 2x, okay? And then you look at the shaded area. The shaded area is down here, the bottom part. So y has to be less than. You see that? So you have to look at the graph and go backwards now. And then for the second equation, you can already see the answer, and that's right here already, right? Yes, I'm giving you the graph, and then you have to give me the equation. Okay, so we're going backwards for number 3. And then now let's take a look at the next line, which is going to be this one, right? So what is the y-intercept? Ooh, that's a negative 1, because this is 0 and this is negative 2. Probably on the screenshot, I got to show you the negative 2 right here, right? So I'm going to start with negative 1 over here, which is right there. And then I got to find the slope, right? So I got to find another point so I could calculate the slope, which for me would be this one. So from here to here, I had to go down by 1, 2, 3, and to the right by 1. So there you go. It's negative 3x, right? And if you look at the shaded area for right here, the left side is not shaded, only the right-hand side, right? So that means y has to be what? Greater than. And so obviously it's the same equation over here because I had to type it up to come out with this equation. But I just wanted to show you the process to get to the answer. Okay? So thumbs up if you get this class. Now, what do you think? Should I give you another question for tomorrow's test? Do you think 3 questions is just too few? Okay, so the truth is I only have 3 questions for you. However, I want to make sure that you understand that question number 1. Let me go back, okay? I want you to understand that this question over here, question number 1, this is going to be worth the most points, okay? Because this is a word problem, and because on the final, there's like 8 of them, okay? And that's why I want to make sure that you know how to read and understand, set up the equation, come up with the equation, and actually go all the way so you can find the answer. So, you know how I give you partial points for everything? Okay, so I know this is really tedious and some people might get mad at me for doing this, but it has to be done, okay? So, for setting this up, dog bones, D, cat treats, C. And by the way, on your test, it might not be cats and dogs food. It could be something else like lollipops and caramel, or Reese's and I don't know, whatever, yeah. And my favorite Snickers, yes, right. And then you have to set this up correctly, okay? That is very important. And then over here, that I did not do in the beginning, you gotta explain. Oops. Explain how you set up the equation. And I want at least 3 sentences over here. Okay? So I want you to give me at least 3 sentences. For me, it's very simple. Oh, I said that C is, most likely I want to explain this. The reason why I put minus 3C is because Carlos returned 3 bags of cat food. Okay? And then the reason why I put $1 here is because he already got refunded the amount and then he only has to pay an additional $1. Now, what if he got refunded like $3? What are you going to put here? -3, right? So please make sure you explain to me, maybe 3 sentences is excessive. Let me change that. At least 2 sentences, okay, on how you set up the equation. And then once you explain that to me, then I want you to go ahead and just like I did, write down all the steps that went along with every single thing over here. So let's say that you're a genius and for some reason you can go from here and didn't show any work and go straight to the answer.
you can still get credit for the answer, but you're going to miss out on so many points you can get over here for every single step and for every single written English steps. Okay? Alright. And finally, you gotta remember to write your answer in English. This is very important. So question number 1 is going to be the one question where you put all your efforts into, because question number 2, if you don't know it, then you have to pay attention to it. But question number 2, I actually honestly feel that everybody except for maybe 1 or 2 in this class would get everything correct. Okay? Question number 3 is kind of difficult, right? You have to kind of think about it because you're going backwards, and quite honestly, we never went backwards before. Okay? So if you think that you need some practice, then you can go ahead and practice a little bit, okay? Just look at this equation and try and figure out how Ms. Choi came out with the equation, okay? But if it is too difficult for you, I'll try and make it simple by writing down the y-intercepts for you. Maybe that would make it a little bit easier. Or make sure that all the numbers that you see over here are in increments of 1 instead of 2, so you don't have to, figure out what's going on over there. Okay? So we are done for today. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me. But, of course, I'll never leave without giving you a practice question, right? So, there you go. But I'm going to be done with the recording.